You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access. Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
Business Access TV is here at FUNDSME, a platform connecting funders and small and medium enterprises to get you informed, inspired and funded. I'm your host, Amita Prasad Webb. Stay with us. GB Energy is always involved in promoting economic growth.
We strongly believe that Jamaica is in a very good position right now. We're heading up for growth and prosperity, and we want to be a big contributor of that. So with that, we're participating in all kinds of events that promote growth, not only by selling our fuels and to the business, by the service stations and the airlines and the ships and the companies, but also by participating actively in developing education and promoting the creation of small companies like what we're having today. We think that the SMEs are a very important segment of the economy and they need a lot of support. So we thought that by sponsoring this event, we bring the facility for the SMEs to get funds on a very fast way and start developing and growing. You know, the middle class and the SMEs are the motors of the economy. So that's why we need to project and grow in Jamaica.
The difficulties faced by SMEs are so prohibitive that in many instances it prevents people from going into business again. But let's be clear here, the onus is placed on those wishing to start a business to get the fundamentals right. That cannot be placed upon the shoulders of the government and financial institutions alone. You have to research the market you want to enter, write a viable business plan. Are you going to go the debt or equity route? How many people will you initially employ? What kind of inventory will you need? You have to establish these questions first. You will have to do your homework. No one else can do it for you. The other thing the SME can do is realize that they must change the way they manage once they pass the startup stage.
What does it take to be an entrepreneur? Nurture or nature? Someone has a preference for nature. Who says nature? You have to be born an entrepreneur. Nurture. You can be taught to be an entrepreneur. I think it's both. I think some people are born with this just burning need, one, not to work for other people, and two, with great ideas that they think will make a difference for the world. And they, without meaning to or wanting to, they start creating, and it in turn creates jobs for other people. One of the things about entrepreneurship is that it takes, one, a lot of hard work and lots of creativity. We spoke about that we had between 2005 and 2008, the entrepreneurship levels for Jamaica were really high, and you want to ask what happened after that. The economy did something, the international community did something. There was a collapse internationally in the economy. But one of the things that we don't talk about very often is that the entrepreneurship in Jamaica is mostly survival entrepreneurship. And you can tell by the fact that the economy hasn't grown for 40 years. You have really large businesses, the sandals, the super clubs, the such and such. But they tend to be in one particular industry. And then we have Grace Kennedy and, was it Seprod and, such and such. But they tend to have a familiarity in terms of the kind of businesses they do and the kind of employment they provide. So what happens to the other businesses, the 70+ percentage of the economy that provides the employment? Not all business people are entrepreneurs. That's the other thing. And you find that out very quickly when you ask them to mentor young entrepreneurs who have ideas. Just because you run a business does not mean you're entrepreneurial. Part of what we lost is we're trying so hard to be American. Never mind my accent. I'm Canadian. Our access to that market, I think sometimes is our detriment more than it is a helpful thing for us. because we see them as the go-to, the thing we want to emulate. But it makes us imitators and not originators. And I think part of what we need to do as our entrepreneurial, as our small business, as our medium business, we don't have anything more than medium businesses, really, is that we need to tap into ourselves and who and what we are. And it doesn't mean that every stall carries exactly the same Bob Marley t-shirt and exactly the same sculpt. Those things annoy me for no reason at all. It's like, why is every store like right next to each other in a tourist area have exactly the same things? What is the value? Where's the value added? Why wouldn't you, as a group, in the same space, say, look, you do t-shirts, I'll do sculptures, you do paintings. That's collaboration. You all make money because you sell different things. You can tap into the very thing that the tourists eventually, when they are allowed to leave the grounds of the resort, they come to and look for. But if you're all selling the same things, it's confusing and it's annoying because you're looking for something authentic. A couple years ago, I saw flags here that were from, I think, China. And they had a weird colored yellow, like a neon green situation. And they were being sold, and people were quite okay with that. And I'm like, that's not okay. Why aren't we making flags? Why are you importing flags? So there are a lot of things that we see around that we know the solutions for, but we don't bother to create them. The entrepreneurship is in creating the solution that you know is needed. People will pay for it. So we need to tap into our nature, nurture it, and make money doing it. FUNDSME is probably a bright spark for us right now. We need a platform that brings everybody together, the funders with the small businesses that are looking for funding. Because what we have now is an ad hoc system where you might know somebody who's a funder, you might know somebody who's an SME, and you might be able to put them together. What FUNDSME is doing is putting all of that algorithm, as we like to talk in the tech community, putting that all together to say, hey, here's an 80 to 90% match with a funder who's willing in your sector to fund what you have available. And here SME is an investor who is willing to put money in your company, whether as a loan or as an investment, as for equity or whatever. So it's the perfect time for us to have this platform available to Jamaicans to do Jamaican things.
As an Irish person, we're very proud to help out in Jamaica. Very, very similar cultures. We're a little bit funnier than you guys. We drink a little bit more than you guys, I'd say. But there are lots and lots of similarities. We're here because we are doing this in other countries like South Africa. We're trying to do it in other parts of Latin America. We came here first through our friends in Digicel and Mr. O'Brien. I met him sometime in the year. He said, actually, they're so like us. We did it in Ireland. It was hugely successful, huge amounts of money, capital raised and jobs created. He said, can you just do it in Jamaica first? So you can thank Digicel, hence they're here to do it. The main challenges facing Jamaica small and enterprise, 50% of it, accessing finance. So we think there's a need. And you guys prove that there's a need and a capability. I just want to talk about this for a second. You need to understand the whole funding. This is our model in this magical pathway to funding. We kind of split the funders into these various paths along this funding continuum. And we need to understand that. You know, if you're pure tech, pure startup, you're not going to get banking finance. So, but to go through it in a normal operating economy, and it's not American, you shouldn't really look at American for any reason, but this is the phases. So you've got this sort of R&D and startup, and we call it founders. In fact, we've a phrase for it in Ireland. We call it friends and family and fools, that section, startups. You have the next section, which is business angels. Now, you don't have a structure here. It's something we really need to think about in terms of peer-to-peer, those business angels networks. You know, when Ireland really got going was in the late 70s. That fund came from the Irish fund, which actually came from Irish Americans, 1 billion. And they injected into two things, colleges and funds for entrepreneurs. So it needs a bit of spoke. But it seems we've got 850 million, which is to think about where that goes. Venture capital. Ireland is 4 or 5 million people. We would have at least 60 to 70 venture capital funds. I've talked to DBJ, we've talked to Alpha Angels. This needs to mature. Now, these aren't for the pure SMEs, they are more for entrepreneurs. And it will come, and we just need to get 2 or 3 successes in this country, and the money will start to come.
We basically distribute funding through intermediaries. So we have 2 classifications of intermediaries. We have our approved financial institutions, which are like your commercial banks, the National People's Cooperative Bank, which deals primarily with agriculture. Then there's the National Exim Bank, who is also represented here today. And we also have relationships with a number of credit unions. We also have 13 microfinance institutions, and these are institutions which deal primarily with micro borrowers, 100,000, 200,000, up to 500,000, 600,000. The range will vary. Okay, I mentioned the dedicated agricultural line. We have funding from the Caribbean Development Bank, which is specifically for small agricultural projects. And entrepreneurs are able to access up to $8.4 million at 9.5%, up to 10 years for repayment. And we're able to do moratorium periods of up to 48 months. And we will fund as much as 90% of project costs. One major criteria, you have to be registered with RADA as an agricultural enterprise. We have other lines which include National Insurance Fund, World Bank, Petrocarib, and more recently we are trying to negotiate a line with the European Investment Bank, specifically for micro-entrepreneurs. Some, and I have to stress some, entrepreneurs need to be a bit more professional in how they transact businesses. That's on their side. On the commercial banking side, or on the financial side, institutions, I guess, need to look at how best to develop markets. And part of that, though, is that institutions like commercial banks, that is not their remit. They are driven by profit. So institutions like the DBJ are the institutions that will seek to close gaps in the market. So part of what we do is to do research as well into what is happening in various spaces in the economy, and how can the DBJ assist in closing these gaps.
We're still here at the FUNDSME Meet the Funders event. We're going to a very short break. Stay with us.
I'm a panelist. I'm talking about what the Branson Center does. So many entrepreneurs here today, and we have 88 entrepreneurs that we support at the Branson Center right now. So getting people more familiar with our training program, mentorship program, and our funding programs.
What would you advise those entrepreneurs who are really having a hard time seeking funding?
There is a disconnect between the sources of funding and entrepreneurs right now, and that disconnect is a presentation of compelling document that encourages and gets funders excited about funding your company. So what we do, we have a free online platform that guides you step by step to creating an investment presentation, and that's really the first step any entrepreneur needs to take before getting funding. Then you have to build a track record that you can do the things that you say you're going to do in your plan. Without a track record, it's going to be hard to get funding. So we help you with a mentor to help you implement some of the plans that you came up with. And then after you've implemented the plan, you have a track record, you have this document, then you're ready to go in front of sources of funding and get funded.
Talk to me about your business.
Well, the business is very exciting because it's a bottom-up development where we train communities to manage your community as a business. We set up steering committees So they have a management team, and then we identify with them existing businesses that need support and potential businesses. And businesses, schools, church, rest stop, whatever it may be. And then we do a business plan for the community, and then they're able to get funding because everything is documented of what is required. And we are moving in a very positive direction because we are being supported by the Caribbean Olympia Tours, which is a major tour operator where I'm a community using partner, marketing partner, where we market community experience vacations and tours.
Talk to us about FundSME.
FUNDSMEJamaica.com is a platform and events company that helps SMEs match themselves with best fit funders in Jamaica. We launched in Ireland 2 years ago. It was very successful, and then our friends in Digicel saw what we were doing and asked us would we consider coming to Ireland, because one of the key things that is a side effect of FUNDSMEJamaica.com is that we create jobs. And for every job that a business creates because they got funded through us, one extra job is created outside that business. So for example, today we've had 550 businesses come through our door. If each one of those businesses creates just one job, and then a second job is created outside that business, we're talking over 1,000 jobs created in one day. I mean, that's just a spectacular result. Apart from that, funders love this kind of an event because we get hundreds of businesses in one place in a half a day, not even a full day. SMEs love it because it's free. They're free to use our platform. They're free to use our Pathway to Funding tool, and they're free to come to our event. And the Pathway to Funding tool is very special because it's a piece of software that allows SMEs answer simple questions, 15 simple questions, and based upon those answers, they get a perfect match with an alternative funder. And when that happens, we then introduce them and we help them get their business across the line. We didn't know how many people to expect, but we were like, for 4 hours, 4 solid hours, there were people coming through that door. Several people have said to me, including the funders, they said when they got out of their car in the car park, they could not believe how many people were waiting at the door in line. They couldn't believe how many people were inside the room when they came. So this place has been packed out, and all I can say is that there is a demand for funding in Jamaica from SMEs, and we're happy to be here. It's great. We've had the government agencies like Exim and Jampro and the Development Bank. They're fantastic. They've been big supporters of ours. And the Prime Minister wanted to open, was hoping to open the event, but unfortunately he's off the island today, so he was unable to accept our invitation. So all in all, it's been a fantastic day. It brings a smile to my face to see so many people happy and healthy and looking for something and getting up off the chairs and coming to an event like this.
Today, Digicel is here, basically offering young entrepreneurs all the business solutions that they need for their business, their small business, their home business, the small office. So we are offering Office 360, and pretty much what that is giving office in a box, which is also an important opportunity for our clientele to be able to sell the products and bring their products across. And of course, it gives you the network connectivity that you need to be able to get consumers to come to see your product and view your product. We also have one of 5 postpaid offers here today that's only available to small business enterprises. And why that is important is because we want to reduce the cost of young entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs going into the market to be able to connect with their customers and, of course, grow the business.
For those of you that are not quite sure what Alpha Angels is, we are an angel investment group born out of Montego Bay. How we look at businesses is, you send your information to Opal, she'll prepare you and get you ready to pitch. You come to one of our monthly meetings. It's somewhat like a Shark Tank, but not as aggressive as a Shark Tank can be at times. And we hear your pitch, we hear what you're offering, we look at your business model, and we obviously decide whether we should invest as individuals or if not. Most times it's equity, sometimes it can be debt, sometimes it can just be you're looking a mentor, you're looking some guidance to help to grow your business.
Tell me about your purpose here today. What are your expectations at FUNDSME?
So our expectations today are obviously networking to start, looking for individuals that are seeking capital for their businesses. So I hear that there's over 500 people here today, so there's a lot of networking to be done.
Say I want to make a pitch to Alpha Angels. What are some things that I should keep in mind and what are some big no-nos?
So your business plan and your pitch is very important. Obviously, you need to sell yourself as a jockey, the entrepreneur. You need to sell your business. Your business not only has the ability to get off the ground, but it has the ability to scale. From there, having your financials and having sound projections and sound financials that back your business plan is a huge benefit to you when you're coming to pitch. If you're not prepared with that, you're not going to get through to the next level.
Talk to us about why Business Access TV is here at FUNDSME.
All right, so Business Access TV decided to be a part of FUNDSME because we wanted to highlight the opportunities available for small businesses. As you know, Business Access TV is one of those stations where we foster growth with medium and small enterprises. We have a show called Creating Wealth where we focus on the journey of smaller businesses, where they are and where they're going in the future. So FUNDSME is here to educate and make available funding for small and medium enterprises in Jamaica. Being here brings awareness to that. So we come and when we highlight all the funding companies, we go back and we air on the station the different fundings available and we bring awareness to that.
Tell me about your business and why are you here today?
Okay, my business is a fashion brand, I would say, because I started out manufacturing jewelry. I do handmade jewelry from all sorts of media, but we also do leather sandals, leather belts, leather bags, and so on. So we do fashion accessories.
What are your expectations here today at FUNDSME?
You know what? After a while, as a small business, you need to get properly capitalized. In Jamaica, we start businesses from our own pockets, as savings accounts, and so on and so on. But after a while, you really do need to put a structure in place and put proper capital in place. And so that's why I'm here.
I'm the entrepreneur that would share with you that I'm not very big on business plans, especially for a new stage business. I believe that people will have to buy into what you're doing, and you also have to have the courage to create what it is that you've said. I'm the entrepreneur that takes the blows when they come, because many do come, and you have to, understand that. And if you're passionate about what you're doing, then, the rewards will outweigh the blows. But at the end of the day, you have to create something in order for any bank, any financier of any capacity to decide that they're going to buy into it. Because walking around with a piece of paper, there are a million people in Jamaica, there are a million people elsewhere in the world who have that very same piece of paper trying to convince organizations and individuals, etc., that they should place capital into it. And until you have something that people can actually see, visualize, and actually start biting into and taking advantage of and start to create value, then we're all going to always be stuck in this, as I said, somewhat stifling position. The rhetoric that I'm hearing seems like, a lot of frustration with banks. There's a lot of discussion around the fact that there's not enough competition in the banking sector, so we don't have enough banks, which is something I agree with. We often think that Jamaica is very small, but an example was given today. I'm trying to remember the name of which country it was, but they were speaking about just the size of another country where they had hundreds of banks. Actually, it was Panama. So they were just talking about Panama and how many banks are in Panama, and then you look at Jamaica where there are 8, right? And so, what that does is it creates a stifling situation for not just the people who need the money, but also for the banks themselves. Competition is good, and so I would say that's one of the major outcomes that I've seen from this. But what is also clear is that there are a lot of people who are extremely enterprising, chasing opportunity, looking for their own success, and so Jamaica needs to find a way to take advantage of that and help uplift them.
My purpose here today is to seek funding for my startup tech company, and just looking for equity investors, people who are looking to grow businesses and develop them for Jamaican growth.
Tell me about your business.
Well, specifically, my business facilitates entry into the Chinese market for commodities from the Caribbean and Africa. And I also have contracted relationships for industrial chemicals as well as industrial goods from China and around the world.
Well, the beauty about today is that FUNDSME offers multiple, ways of you getting funding today. What are your expectations of this seminar?
Well, FUNDSME comes with an interesting perspective, which is matching and bringing it to the right institution that will look into investing in your business. So I'm really hopeful to see what FUNDSME has to offer us. I'm really hopeful to see what growth this will bring to the country, because at this point our GDP is extraordinarily low, and that is because they're small and medium enterprises that are not able to get the funding. So I'm very hopeful to see what FUNDSME has to offer.
And that's it for us here at the FUNDSME Meet the Funders event. Get informed, get inspired, and get funded. Check out their website at fundsmejamaica.com. I've been your host, Amita Prasad Webb, and you're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.